manage the expectations of backers, because they can get vocal about it and passionate about it in ways that can be negative if you don't manage those expectations of when people's games are going to arrive and stuff. So if you're using a service like GamesQuest, which I strongly recommend, because that just takes so many headaches away from you. And
we didn't prepare this, by the way. Genuinely, we didn't.
Where's that fiver, Joe?
But it's very
and certainly, you know, when you're talking about a game like City of Kings, which is, you know, it's got all these moving parts and extra expansions and the weight and stuff, I can't imagine like single-handedly shipping out that kind of quantity of games. But the notion of staying in touch with your backers is hugely important if you're running a Kickstarter, not just throughout the campaign, but afterwards, and staying clear and staying available to any and all questions that you might have, and sending out regular updates, at least monthly after the campaign, right the way up till the backers have their games in their hands, is crucial. Because if you want to do another Kickstarter after that, you're going to have to earn the trust of your pool of supporters, the people who've made it happen for you. And they're your most important resource. Yes, you want to grow your audience and you want to bring in new people as well. But what we've found, and I'm sure Frank will agree, is the people who come back and support you again and again are the ones who are key to your growth in the future of your burgeoning game business. So yeah, absolutely staying in touch with those and making yourself available. Some companies, if you're big enough, you can employ someone who will come in and manage the Kickstarter campaign for you. Myself and my wife manage ours, Francesca, who's over there, and we respond to every backer's email personally, because we want to have that direct contact with them. You know, and if we can grow ourselves into a position where we can have someone do that for us, great. But in the meantime, we're going to have to make sure that we keep everybody happy and keep them abreast of all the stages of the process, because it can take months, it can take ages to get your games actually out there. You know, once you've funded, you take those funds, it's going to take Kickstarter a couple of weeks to up to a month to give those funds to you. Then you go to the manufacturers and you pay those guys, and it's going to take them a couple of months to, you know, to add you into their queue, and also manage, you know, when they're going to be able to turn you around. And then once the games are produced, it's going to take weeks, possibly months more, to get a ship, the slow boat from China to come over. That takes months, and then once it lands in your country or your different hubs around the world, it doesn't instantly appear in the hands of backers. Then you need your distributors and your fulfillment teams and GamesQuest and people like those to get the games out to the backers. So it really is an arduous, glacial process.
You said every backer, and that's literally every backer, because if you have one backer that really, really hates or feels that he or she has been mistreated during the campaign, they haven't gotten what they thought they would get, and not in the time frame they would get it, and whatnot, that person can be very damaging for your next campaign. And that's not only it's not only that they can be angry with us, but with our partners as well, with our printers, with our fulfillment partners, and sometimes earlier at least, when we had this tight relationship with Modifius. So taking care of each and every one and holding, sometimes it can take a year after 99.9% of the backers have gotten their things. Then there's this one backer who has such bad luck that it's insane. The package gets lost, it gets damaged, and you send another one and another one and another one. But you have to do it because it's fair and it's the right thing to do, but also not to damage your future, because that's how you build that momentum. I believe having every backer during the campaign feel that they are part of the creation of the actual products that you're making, but then afterwards also feel that they are taken along for the post-production process and also the shipping. And not only in the sense that they know what's happening, but that one thing that I like to or that comes to mind in this case is that we promised in one of our earlier Kickstarters to a dice set as a stretch goal. But then post-campaign, we had funded successfully, far beyond our expectations, and we thought, well, of course, we need to give them a die set because many people have been asking for it for this particular brand. And then we started to realize it, making that die set that we wanted to make, it would be so expensive that not only would it damage our calculations for the actual Kickstarter, we would actually lose money for every set sold in retail. Because even if we printed like 10,000 copies, that says something about the kind of product we wanted to make, but it was too expensive. So we went out to our backers, talked to them, had a discussion, had kind of a poll, and asked, is it okay for you if we switch this reward for a printed hardback book instead, which would actually be cheaper to produce, to write, illustrate, and produce. And they shared, of course, they much rather would have a book of adventures than the die set. So in the end, maybe 10 or 15% of the backers were like a little bit discontent about the solution. But as long as they are allowed to express that, be part of the decision-making process, they fully understood that it would hurt us really, really bad if we did what as we initially had promised. And all of this, and I think builds that momentum, builds that trust, builds that sense of community. When we launch a new Kickstarter, all the returning backers are there to welcome new ones, to help us spread word, and so on and so forth.
Thank you.